I'll pay you the compliment that I do not believe you wish to inherit just because nobody's investigated properly.
No, but...
Nor can Murray accuse you of making trouble when you're the one who will suffer most from a discovery.
It really feels like everyone's quietly breathing a sigh of relief now that Mary has divorced Henry. They just never seemed right for each other, and honestly, the separation is probably going to open up all kinds of interesting paths for her character. After watching that trailer of Downton Abbey, the grand finale, this isn't just about romance falling apart, there's also the social side of it. In that time period, divorce could carry a certain amount of stigma, but it could also give her a kind of independence and depth we haven't fully seen before. And knowing Mary, she'll handle the gossip with her trademark blend of grace and bite. Now, I've got a hunch about Harold showing up. My guess? He's probably making the trip because he and his family lost their fortune in the 1929 Wall Street crash. That whole event triggered the Great Depression, and since the film's set in 1930, the timing lines up almost too perfectly. If that's true, it means the Crawleys aren't immune to the ripple effects either. Big estates like theirs faced a lot of pressure during those years. I can almost picture the movie's ending, a slow shot of Downton Abbey shifting through time until we're in the present day. The grand house might no longer be a private home, but a museum, just like so many other manors in Britain now. Maybe there's a tour group walking through the main hall, stopping to look at portraits, not just the familiar one of Violet, but also of Robert, Cora, Mary, Edith, Sybil, and an adult George. Or maybe they'll take a more emotional turn, showing an elderly Mary passing away peacefully in her sleep. They could even mirror Titanic's ending, where she's reunited in the afterlife with everyone she's lost, and, if they somehow convinced Dan Stevens to do a surprise cameo, Matthew is there waiting for her, her one true love. And let's not forget the evolution between Mary and Edith. Hearing Edith compliment Mary, and in such a warm tone, is a big shift from the days when their relationship felt like one long duel of cutting remarks. They've definitely grown closer, and maybe that's one of the most satisfying arcs in the whole series. Of course, Mary's divorce is sad, but honestly, it's not shocking given how rarely her husband was even around. Then there's that line from the Downton Abbey the grand finale trailer. Long live Downton Abbey, amen to that. On the surface, it sounds like a toast to the estate's future, but it's more of an emotional send-off than a literal statement. In the world of the story, Downton isn't just a building, it's the Crawley family's identity, their traditions, and the beating heart of the community. That phrase feels like they're saying, "May this legacy last for generations." But if you think about the historical context, there's a bittersweet edge to it. In reality, the late 1920s and 1930s brought financial disaster for many estates like Downton. Families were forced to sell, downsize, or even demolish their homes because they simply couldn't afford them anymore. So in that sense, the line could be a mix of genuine hope and quiet acknowledgement that the future is uncertain. The series' creator, Julian Fellowes, has already spoken about how the grand finale will honor Violet Crawley, the late Dowager Countess. This is the third Downton Abbey movie, and it's taking us into the 1930s, right into the heart of the Great Depression. We've already seen glimpses in the trailer of Robert looking as though he might be saying goodbye to the house, which raises the question, will the Crawleys have to leave? Whatever happens, they'll be facing it without Violet. She died at the end of the last film, A New Era, and without Dame Maggie Smith herself, her absence feels even more poignant. Fellowes has explained that while Violet may be gone, her influence lingers everywhere. Her values, her expectations, and her sense of duty to the family are still shaping the Crawleys' decisions. Fellowes even admitted that he wanted the audience to miss her presence. That's part of the emotional weight of the film. It's clear the family hasn't truly moved on from losing her, and maybe they never will. She was their anchor, their sharp-tongued compass, and someone who loved them fiercely in her own way. If financial trouble threatens Downton's future, you could imagine her voice echoing in their minds, pushing them to fight for it. And if they have to let it go, the guilt might make the loss even harder to bear. There's a part of me that thinks the grand finale could be the perfect time to bring the whole saga to a close. Fellowes has teased that he never says never about the stories. But maybe the absence of Violet and Maggie Smith changes things too much for it to truly feel like Downton Abbey anymore. The final movie could work as a beautiful farewell, not just to Violet and her actress, but to the story itself. Of course, there's also the tempting idea of a prequel. If anyone deserves one, it's Violet Crawley. She's one of the most fascinating characters the show's ever had. The problem would be finding someone to play her younger self. Maggie Smith's interpretation is so iconic that any actress would inevitably be compared to her. But maybe, if the finale ends in a certain way, it could open the door for that kind of project. Elizabeth McGovern, who plays Cora, has also shared her thoughts on saying goodbye. She mentioned that without Dame Maggie, the production had more freedom in some ways. They didn't have to pause for those big set pieces built around Violet's scenes, the ones audiences loved, which gave the film a different rhythm. But even so, she said Violet is still there in spirit, permeating everything. She also reflected on how close the cast became over the years. Many of them started Downton early in their careers, and she's watched them grow, get married, and have children. That kind of shared journey naturally builds real bonds. And in between all the drama of the story, they had plenty of laughs on set. Outside of Downton, McGovern has her own creative projects, including making music with her band Sadie and the Hotheads. They've just released a new album called Let's Stop Fighting, which she describes as mellow, gentle, and coming from the perspective of someone who's been through a lot. She even hinted they might go on tour next year. On top of that, she's working on a screenplay based on a British novel, though she's keeping the title under wraps until the rights are settled. It features another strong older woman character, and McGovern plans to play her. Before she wrapped up her interview, she addressed the big question, is this really the last chapter for Downton Abbey? She admitted it is, unless they do something completely different, like go back in time with a whole new cast, perhaps to tell the story of a young Violet. And you could tell from her smile that even if this is the end, she's looking forward to sitting back and watching it all unfold like the rest of us. So maybe that's where we're left, a story reaching its natural close, wrapped in both hope and nostalgia. The characters are bracing for change, some of it brought on by forces they can't control, like the Depression. The family's matriarch is gone, but her presence lingers in their choices and their hearts. And we, the audience, get one last chance to walk those familiar halls, hear the clink of teacups, and watch the upstairs and downstairs worlds cross paths. Whether the final scene is a joyful reunion in some imagined heaven, a bittersweet tour through Downton's future as a museum, or something completely unexpected, it's bound to carry that same mixture of elegance and emotion that's made the series so beloved. And as for that trailer line, "Long live Downton Abbey," maybe it's not about the literal survival of the estate at all. Maybe it's about the endurance of the story, the characters, and the feeling they've given us over the years. Amen to that. And that's that for today's video. Thanks for watching, and we will see you in the next one. And don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to stay in the loop. And if you want, you can share your thoughts about this video in the comments below.